So I'm a youth support officer here at Visibility, and I really enjoy my work working with the youth, mainly aged around about 12 through to 18 years,
Ryan, Youth Support Officer.
and sometimes a little bit further. Really enjoy working with that group of children because it's a big time, big change in their lives. They're moving from, I guess, primary school to high school, and you really see them grow and I guess take on the direction that where they're going to head for the rest of their lives. So it's a great role. So I work with them there. Work with a little bit of I work with the youth in the areas of career development. We talk about any hassles they may have at school at the time. I also talk to them about especially going for voluntary work and getting some work experience to see what it's like out there in the workforce. We talk about what they're going to study and do a lot of mentoring, I guess, and giving them ideas as to where they might want to go or how they want to go in their lives.
What is important when working with a child with vision impairment?
One of the best things to consider is not to do too much for them. Even when I work with the children, I don't do a lot of things for them. I'll help them and I'll point them in the right direction and I'll find what they need. But when it actually comes to, say, ringing that person to get their voluntary job or something like that, I won't do it. I might ring that person beforehand and let them know that A might ring you next week and talk to you about that job, but I won't ring that person for I won't do it. It's being mindful of that these children are normal people. They all it is they're vision impaired, but they're still normal people and they can still do everything that anyone else does. So yeah, definitely not doing anything for them. Don't bring the world to them. Let them go to the world.
What particular things are you able to bring to children because of your own vision impairment?
I think for me personally, it's the fact that if I can do it, they can do it, because there's no difference apart from maybe my face is a bit more wrinklier and I'm a bit older, but there's no difference between them and myself. I'm vision impaired, they're vision impaired. So I feel if I can go out and achieve these things, there's no reason why those children can't go out and achieve those things. And if you're a parent of a very young vision impaired child, I think you need to expect your child to be able to do what most other children do at their age. So don't do everything for them. Let that child do what they need to do and be as normal of a child as they can.
Do people still do things for you that you can do for yourself?
It still happens even at the age that I'm at, halfway through my life, and I still get people doing it for me, thinking that I can't do these things, and it gets quite frustrating, actually. I must admit, it's some days you actually get very, it can be soul destroying, and really frustrating, and so it can actually sometimes make you feel a little bit angry inside, because you think, I can do that. You don't need to do that for me. Can you just let me do that? And one of the things I really like about being around my family is that generally my family don't do things like that for me, because they know me well and they know that Ryan can do that, he's all right. It's being around other people and they'll do things for you. You think, well, I can do that myself. I don't need your help. Yeah. It's up to the individual to, I guess, tell people what they need help in and what they don't need help in. And it does happen to me, when people do a job for me that I could have done. It takes me a little while, but then finally I'll come around and say, hey, look, I can do that for myself next time. I don't need you to do that for me. Or just stop, I'm quite capable of doing this. So it is something to teach your children to be able to speak up and advocate for themselves and let people know what they need and what they don't need.
What does inclusion mean, and what does it look like when it's working well?
The word inclusion doesn't always come up in my world, in my work, but I know, I guess inclusion to me means having a vision impaired child doing what every other child is doing, being a part of the school group or a scouting group or a sporting group, and not making that sport any different because you've got a vision impaired child there. For example, don't have a sports team, say, kicking a ball around an oval and having the vision impaired child sitting on the side just rolling a ball backwards and forwards with someone else. Inclusion is that vision impaired child running around with the rest of the team kicking the ball around the oval. You might have to give it a bell ball, or the colour contrast on the ball might have to be a different colour. But inclusion is when that child's doing exactly what everybody else is doing. So if, not giving them any allowances, when you give a child with any disability an allowance, effectively you're taking inclusion away from them. You're isolating them again. It's very easy to be isolated as a person with a vision impairment. And so including them is, I'd say definitely is not putting other barriers or other things in place that isolates that child. So including them in everything you're doing. So even back thinking about home, including your vision impaired child in the housework, including your vision impaired child in the dishes at the end of the night, or cooking the meals, or doing work around the house, including the gardening and everything like that. That's inclusion, because they're part of the family. They're expected to be what everyone else in the family is meant to be. When it comes to the scout group, if the vision impaired child wants to be fully included in that scout group, well, then give them a hammer and get them to put the pegs in the ground for putting up the tent as well, just like everybody else. Don't let them say, go sit off the side and just wait there while we put the tent up for you. No, that child should be in there and doing it as well, and making the mistakes like every other child is, and learning from those mistakes too. And you can see it when you see the children coming through here. You can see the difference in the parents that do include the children in everyday living compared to those parents that do a lot for the children. And just working with them and on the sleepovers and that here, you can see that in the morning, because you'll see some of them will be up and dressed and ready to go. And this includes people or children who are totally blind. I'm not just saying it's the ones who have got a vision impairment. They're ready, they're dressed, their bags are done, the beds are made, everything's complete. And yet the ones whose parents do a lot for them all the time, and it's all well-meaning. It's not, I don't want to say that those parents are awful for doing this, but you can see the difference where those other children are struggling because they just haven't had that responsibility of being told how to do it.